start with how that transition is and how you like, did you feel a part of the team? Because to be honest with you, you know, I was so focused on the season and like everyone that was going
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
playing that I had forgotten that you redshirted. Like I had forgotten there was injury, forgot you redshirted. It was like,
yeah,
I don't want to say you
yeah.
weren't a part of the team, but it was like, all right, JMO's over here doing his thing and
Oh,
we got to worry about ourselves. Like,
yeah,
was there a problem like feeling a part of the team and getting back into it?
yeah. I mean, I think first of all, I think that's normal. I mean,
Hmm.
even to this day, like we have a team where as professionals, guys get injured and they kind of have to go like and manage that because you have right here what's right in front of you, like it's needs your attention. And so, I mean, I think it's a very normal way to approach it. But I would say for sure. I mean, you spend so much time at that time. Like I spent so much time with John Doe. Like it was like that. It was like me and John Doe like every day. Like who was our trainer? You remember John Doe?
Oh, of
And it
course.
was like we were watching like the Tour de France together, and like we were like you know, and half the time at that time we had such limited resources for our program from a recovery standpoint that
Yeah.
I did most of my rehab at Schembeckler at the football facilities. So, I mean, for sure, I felt separate. And, you know, a- I don't necessarily feel like it was anybody's fault or like it should have been different, but um, I spent most of my time like away from the team. And I mean, it's challenging. I mean, that was
Yeah.
definitely one of the times I look back on in my life as one of the more challenging things that I faced. But um, I think of it as an experience that kind of shaped me because when I came back, I was really hungry. In the summer before that, the following season, before when we had preparing for like our European tour and stuff, like I was very hungry at that time. I worked my ass off when I got back, um, onto the court in general, and so that was definitely like a defining experience. So I definitely appreciate that adversity.
I mean, I imagine you just have to keep reminding yourself of the end goal, but like that year has to seem so, so long. I mean, don't get me wrong, you missed a great year to miss. Like we sucked and everything was disappointing. Like you had no responsibility for any of our losses. So it was a good year to miss. But I mean, imagine that
Yeah,
there's times like, did you seek help, like guidance? Like, I know you have great parents. I love your parents, but
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
very lonely thing. Like, there's got to be a lot of ups and downs there. Were you able to stay focused and just keep that long-term mindset, or how was that?
I mean, luckily we were surrounded by such great people. And like, it's funny you talk about how long that year was because if you remember, I came back from my knee injury and I think I was back for like a month before I dislocated my shoulder.
Mhm.
And it was like two months maybe that I was healthy before I dislocated my shoulder. And then I was back in rehab for another 6 months. So um we were lucky as a team that we had some really good people, at least like in the athletic department, especially at the time, like having Brian Townsend around, having Greg Harden around, having Coach Beeline. But it was kind of just like it was kind of just like you just endure, man. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
You definitely keep the end goal in mind. That's something that I always do. I always try to remain positive and keep things in perspective. But you know, having my parents like support me through my surgeries was important, of course. And I think it was just the people. It was the people for sure.
Yeah, the one thing about college that keeps it so regimented, you have to stay day by day, and whether it's rehab or the next game or whatever it is, they definitely do a good job
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
But I want to talk
I
about.
think that I think too. I want to mention like
Mm,
and give credit to Demo too in that respect, and Darius Morris, like him being my roommate.
yeah,
Like you remember him and I were like, especially you know when those years that he was on campus with us, like him and I were like thick and thin, like we were like together. We were
yeah,
like thing one, thing two, man. We were everywhere, and he was really great support for me too. And he, his work ethic and his drive, and that kind of it kind of wore off on me a little bit, rubbed off on me a little bit too.
Yeah.
And so I think having a guy like him, like he's quirky and he's goofy, but he's always positive and he always works his butt off, that helped to keep me going too. Having somebody like that in the dorm room, like you're sleeping like 10 feet away. And so
Yeah.
that, having him too, like through all of that, because he had his fair share of challenges through his freshman year. And so we were kind of like there to support each other.
I mean, that connection was evident right when you started up your redshirt freshman year. Like when you started actually playing, I mean,
Yeah.
the pick and roll game
Yeah.
between you guys, you know,
Yeah.
obviously there's going to be a lot of talk about Trey and all the point guards after Trey, but like Darius was the
Right.
one who really started
Yeah.
the transformation of Beeline's offense into a pick and roll offense. And that sort of led the way for Trey to
100%.
come over and just take over. And you guys had that
100%.
connection from the absolute get-go. And I remember not being skeptical, but it was just like, we were going into that year, like, what are we going to do? Like, we're going to run the offense, or obviously we knew Darius was going to have the ball and take control, but
Right.
how was the offense going to go? And you guys, it almost seemed like from day one, it was just popping off right from the start. And
Yeah.
I mean, from production wise, that was the year you averaged the most points. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was super impressive. Like, I know you felt that from day one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and he was like a brother, like especially in those years, like he was like a brother because, like I said, like from the moment we stepped on campus, like when I was in my crutches, like he was like carrying my bag when I was in my crutches, like he never like left me on my own. And so like I think we had a connection where like we did feel like we were brothers in a way. So when we were on the court, like we, he had a way of kind of looking out, for me, like wanting to
Yeah.
see me succeed. And I think as a team, you know, that system fit us really well too. Like with him playing the pick and roll, me rolling and being able to finish the way I could, and then having like a Stu Douglas and a Zach Novak, like, and you make people have to choose, like, what are you going to give up? You
Yeah.
know, because Darius is going to get to the rim. He can score off the pick and roll. You got two elite shooters, and then you also got like somebody that's an elite finisher, and it just made our offense work really well with you guys on next to us, really, honestly.
It's so funny. I remember teams like just not even helping off me and Zach, and you and Darius running the ball screen action, and just repeatedly you're finishing and you're doing up and unders, ball
Yeah,
fakes. Like you're super in control from day one. And I'm like, when are these teams going to realize that we're just going to keep picking
yeah,
you apart like this? And like, you got to help down on Jamar
right.
and stuff. So
Yeah,
you stepped in right away, and I think your finishing was like what was most impressive. Left hand, right hand. Like I knew you were capable of it, but just to step in right away was always something I thought that just went a little unnoticed. But that's that was sort of your career at Michigan, and even early on, I think overseas, just like
right.
a little underappreciated. But you love that stuff. You thrive on that. That's what's I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
still to this day, like in your head, you're like working out, and you're like, people don't believe in me.
Always. No, always, man.